Hey guys, stock time, and it's a fairly quiet week to be honest. Flat for the week. So news seems to be still just Russia and Ukraine. I do think people are sort of overlooking the Fed sort of tightening cycle and interest rates a little. Sort of talks potentially of the Russia and Ukraine getting into talks 1 minute and then sort of the war continuing the next, but people sort of thinking it's back to green as soon as that's sort of resolved, if it does resolve. But yeah, we still have sort of Fed reiterated that they would be raising rates sort of at the end of the month, and the sort of QE from them pretty much ends this month. So yeah, I think that is part of the reason we're seeing sort of red in the market. I think people forget that the sort of tech stocks and everything and the sort of the frothy US indexes were going down well before the war. So yeah, I stay pessimistic to be honest. The gold and silver stocks haven't done too bad, even though sort of gold a little bit down. The Chinese stocks have taken a real hit. Baba and Baidu. It seems to be sort of partly delisting fears again, which I never really put too much stock into. We'll see if it happens, but I just can't see it, to be honest. The Chinese firms have got sort of 2 or 3 years to sort their accounting out, and I think they want to go global. So I just think, if not them sharing their accounts, there will be sort of some sort of agreement or resolution. So yeah, not buying anything at the moment, but not too bad. So on to Trading212. Almost nothing has happened. £90 up. But not even very volatile during the week. There's not a huge amount to talk to in here. The ARC pie hasn't moved. The REITs haven't really moved. Even Argo hasn't really moved. 1.7% up on the week, which is, I guess, quite bullish for crypto. It's not sort of taken a huge drop on sort of war news. I think it's still above where it was when the war broke out, so you could see that as a positive, but still a lot of people thinking it could drop. Still sort of looking at some of the gold silver miners. Sort of been, they still see, I think sentiment still seem good value, but maybe some of the others I might consider. First Majestic had pretty good week. Silver has been sort of very volatile recently. Sylvania Platinum down 3%. Sort of platinum group metals, again, a bit all over the place. Palladium especially, sort of seeing it rise $300, $400 in a day, and it sort of evaporate by the end of the day and sort of even go negative sometimes. So yeah, bit of a strange one, Sylvania at the moment, but very happy with that. So yeah, nothing really much going on in the ISA. The investors got some interesting moves, and I did make a sale. So yeah, down £200. I mean, obviously that doesn't really matter. I think some of that is cash as well, because I couldn't quite bring myself to buy a decimal of a share. So yeah, not a huge amount of movers. Apple not doing quite so well. It's not a big position for me, so I don't mind seeing this drop. Sort of a bellwether, I guess, for how the market is doing. It's not really sort of, I don't think, seen as the sort of full-on tech stocks, it being sort of the biggest company in the world. So I think them sort of starting to come down. I guess it's the war. But yeah, interesting to see them come down. Archer Daniels slightly up on the week. I nearly sort of sold some midweek and bought the dip on some other stuff, but I didn't. So it's still sort of trickling up around the highs. We'll be looking at it again. Just sort of see this as fairly high valuation now. I guess they're getting a bit of sort of bullish news from the sort of Ukraine wheat shortage and sort of commodities shortage in general, with them being sort of America, just fairly insulated from all that. Aviva, sort of decent move for the week. Legal and General have had the same as well. Not a huge amount of move there. eBay, interesting one. 10% down in the last week. People don't seem to be all that happy with them. I see they're sort of pushing a little bit more towards crypto, talking about having a digital wallet and sort of moving to possibly trade NFTs, which is a bit of a toxic sort of hot potato at the moment. Sort of people in the gaming industry seem to hate them, and maybe the eBay customers hate them. But yeah, you've got me being in the sort of crypto world and the NFT world, you've got some fairly sizable platforms on there, but sort of someone with the weight and the infrastructure of eBay, sort of getting in would be very interesting. So I still like them. High profit margin, and reasonable balance sheet. Not the sort of Facebook type balance sheet or Google type balance sheet, but still fine. And they're sort of buying back shares like there's no tomorrow, because I guess they can't find a huge amount to do with the money. So rather than sort of dividend it, they bought back about 13% of the market cap, or 13% of the shares at least. The market cap's dropping, but yeah, 13% of the shares in the last year, and seem to be carrying on at a hell of a pace. So with the reduced price, they'll be doing even more. It sort of puts a bit of a floor on the price. FedEx has moved. Glencore 10% up on the week. I never made this a very big position, so that's frustrating. 65% up nearly. They're sort of quite big in nickel. The copper side is doing well. They're sort of mainly copper, but yeah, nickel had sort of a very interesting move. It seems to be financial based. Sort of some short sellers got squeezed, and nickel sort of rocketed up, and I think got halted. Don't even think it's open again on London Metals Exchange, but if it sort of opens anywhere near, I think it was sort of 25,000, went up to about 100,000, and sort of the exchanges seem to be showing it halted at about 40 odd. But even if it opens at 30 or 40, then it's sort of really bullish for Glencore. So yeah, pretty good, and the copper doing well. Himax about 5% down nearly. Still very happy with this going forward. I'm not sure if I want to make it too big. It is only sort of 2 billion market cap, but yeah, we'll see. I could still consider rebalancing more into that from not rebalancing, selling off what I consider to be higher valuation, lower conviction stocks, putting more into Himax. Legal and General, similar to Aviva, had a bit of a recovery, sort of got knocked down with their Russia exposure. Lockheed, yeah, sort of, I guess this is partly the talks of sort of de-escalation of the war, talks between Russia and Ukraine, and maybe just sort of a bit of frothiness at the thought of military spending. So it did go to sort of nearly 480, and I sort of considered selling a little bit more. Yeah, you saw earlier in the week 480, but I didn't, and yeah, so a smallish position now, so probably just leave it there. But I did sell, yes, I've scrolled past it, I sold Caterpillar. It wasn't a huge position, about £900, and sort of seem to be holding its valuation relatively well, but there isn't a huge amount of growth there. Sort of straight away, I think they would benefit from the infrastructure bills and that sort of thing. But I think now with the war, sort of more of a possibility of a recession, so that spending may get delayed. And Caterpillar were sort of holding a fairly high valuation, so I thought I would sell that off and put it into Meta Platforms again. So up in this position now to a sort of reasonable position, similar to a lot of my others, sort of nearly close to 4,000. And gives me a nice average, brings that down to $200. So fairly happy with that. Micron 11% down in the last week. I can't see any sort of huge news. Some of the materials for their chips do come from Ukraine apparently, so could see that causing a bit of an issue. But then sort of reduced supply globally would sort of raise the price. So yeah, can't see a huge amount wrong with Micron at these levels. It's incredibly sort of volatile. Pings around sort of $70 to $100 all over the time. Porsche hasn't really moved. Process 5% up on the week, but still sort of heavily coming down. 10 cents sort of still being knocked. So yeah, did buy some of this previously, sort of just under 50 euros. So yeah, still a fairly down position. Rio Tinto come quite down. I think this is Russia and Ukraine news. They're sort of ceasing all operations with Russia, but the iron ore price is going up, so could see this as fairly bullish. Maybe a little bit of lost revenue, but sort of offset by higher iron ore prices. So nothing wrong with Rio from what I can see. Shell 6% up again. Yeah, so similar to Rio really. Their oil prices sort of come down a little bit recently, but still looking pretty good. And they're sort of ceasing more with Russia. So that's them. Not a huge amount of movement in these. Stellantis, I was very, very tempted to sell off some Lockheed earlier in the week and sort of buy the Stellantis dip, but wasn't able to take the plunge. Tesla, sort of unsurprisingly, coming down with sort of tech stocks selling off a little. Tyson Foods, again, sort of maybe a little bit frothy before. People getting a bit too excited about higher earnings. Vale, similar to Rio, really. Can't really see what sort of why the drop. I don't even think they have that much Russia exposure, to be honest. And sort of they're obviously part of the nickel boom, and iron ore price up as well. So I think this is just a bit of short-term trading. Longer term, it seems fine. Yeah, that's about it, really. Volkswagen flat. And as I say, fairly quiet week overall. So leave your thoughts in the comments below. See what you're doing, and like and subscribe. See you soon.